Present.
Dr. Turner?
Present.
Mr. Kilgore? Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
There's the Pledge of Allegiance again. Okay. Pledge of Allegiance.
The Eagles injured.
Okay, is there any discussion of the agenda? Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Weren't we
Sorry.
going to remove one item from
Oh.
the agenda? The FRP
That's right, that's right,
approval.
that's right.
I removed it.
Oh, you already removed
I
it?
removed it. I believe I removed it.
Oh, okay. I thought they were gonna have to vote on it since,
We hadn't gone live
okay,
with it, so
okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as is then?
Second.
All right, we have Mr. Kilgore. Who seconded that?
Turner.
Mr. Carter? Turner? Can't find any.
how many options do you have of male voices?
Well, I heard multiple people. I was busy trying to make sense of this agenda here. I didn't. Okay. We'll do a roll call.
Yes. Ms. Anderson? Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
We have a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on September 16th, 2024.
So moved.
Dr. Turner. Mr. Carter. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Can we do a roll call?
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Okay, do we have anything from the Mount Healthy Teachers Association?
Yeah, I would just like to request that the presentation about the new configuration be shared on any media outlets that we have with parents, community, so that they all know that that's back on the table and what the options are, just so that all stakeholders are informed of what's going on.
All right, for our public communications. Are there any communications?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any announcements?
No.
Okay. Looks like we have one presentation from Madison Kist and Jennifer Danner.
Two present.
Two separate presentations. Okay, sorry about that.
Hello. Okay. Hello, I'm Madison. I am the chairperson of the District Wellness Committee, and I just wanted to present the School Health Index results. So this is something that we have to complete every 3 years, and this measures how well our wellness policy is being implemented. So I gave all of the board members a copy of the results, and I have more back here if anyone's interested in seeing them, but we chose 4 of the modules to complete this year, and we scored much better than we did in the previous time that we had to complete this, which was in 2021. So we improved in the nutrition services module, mostly because we were able to include verbiage on smart snacks in our policy, so that helped our score go up. And then as you can see in the physical education module, we're in the medium, and that's due to some things that are out of our control. One specific thing being the teacher to student ratio. And then lastly, so based on this, we use these results to kind of determine what our goals are going to be as the District Wellness Committee. Even though we did score pretty high in Module 9, one thing that we wanted to possibly implement was start working on the process of getting verbiage for a breastfeeding policy in the policy. A lot of our buildings, I reached out to all the principals, they do accommodate all of these things. There's rooms or time for teachers to do this if needed, but there's just nothing written in the policy. So that's something that we wanted to work on as a committee. Does anyone have any questions? And I just want to, last little thing, we would invite anybody who's interested in joining us to come. We still would love to have a board member and representation from all of the buildings, as well as parents. If anybody knows of any parents who would be interested in joining us, we'd love to have them.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Jen Danner. I am the 21st Century Grant Program Manager this year. I've been with the district for 6 years. However, this is my first year in this role, and we have some really exciting programs going on, so I just wanted to share a little bit about the grant with you. The purpose of the grant overall is to increase academic achievement and attendance through after-school activities. So this is a wonderful grant that we're able to fund a lot of the activities that were already established in the past, such as the art club, and I think we had a D&D club as well. But then we've also been able to bring a lot of new clubs and activities through the after-school programs as well. The nationwide statistics prove that this program really proves to increase student attendance and the academic skills as well. And we can do this also through providing credit recovery classes and tutoring for math and ELA classes. We will have some enrichment activities like you can see on the board over there. All after-school activities will funnel through this. This will take care of some supplemental contracts for these, and then also the new clubs, those teachers will be paid at an hourly rate. Students are provided a meal after school, and then they go on to their activity, and if they need busing home from the activity at 4:30, we do provide that through the grant funding as well. I'm excited at this point. We have 160 students signed up for this. It is rolling enrollment, so this will continue throughout the school year. And also we'll have a lot of new activities. I'm reaching out to new teachers, new businesses as well in the area. If we can make more partnerships, we will continue to grow this as the year goes on. This slide just shows you some of the options that the students had when they signed up. So I'm excited. We're going to have a mock trial team this year. The boxing club is a continuation of last year. It was very popular. We have a fun with sports, and we have a survival skills, and we are going to have a drama club. Black Boys in Tech will be coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays to provide some great tech activities. They're going to bring drones and 3D printers, and some robotic activities as well. So again, we just wanted to give you a little bit of a briefing on what's going on the after-school activities, and we're really excited for the students for this year. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I like the name, by the way.
Thank you. That was fun.
Okay, next, we do have some public input. Sorry, my phone is on silent. I don't know what's happening. Ms. Henwood, if you want to come to the front, and then I will start my, well, for 3 minutes. I was going to give 3 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm Erin Henwood. Excuse me, allergies. So I'm speaking because we're going to be talking about that reconfiguration piece again. So I think it is important for us to do our due diligence and make sure we are going forward with solutions that help our district's situation instead of hurt it. Our district's leadership was tasked with improving the way they plan for our district's needs and for any changes that we plan to make. So not taking the time to adequately plan and seek out solutions was cited in the auditor's report as a factor as to why we are in the crisis that we are in. Therefore, let's look at the facts about what the current reconfiguration proposal and ask some tough questions. This time, staff was notified well before the end of the school year. That's an improvement, and it is appreciated. Input from staff was slightly better, but only a small group of staff had input, and it was not appropriate representation of all buildings, from elementaries, high school, across kind of the board there. My opinion is that all staff should have the opportunity to be aware of this kind of monumental change and have the opportunities to give input even if they're unable to attend these small meetings. There is a myriad of reasons why someone wouldn't be able to go to these meetings, from personal things, professional things, many different reasons. So we need to have it kind of available to, there we go, to all staff in different ways. Thirdly, community members were still not informed. I know Julie kind of touched on this for these potential changes. In my opinion, again, this is a big change. We need to include these community members that are paying for it, basically, especially if we're going to be asking them to vote for a levy. And the attempts to include them need to be genuine and leave time for adjustments to the plan prior to bringing it to boards and commissions for approval. Just let me, if I need to get loud, just let me know. So this plan is still unclear of how it can save us money. Only $70,000 was cited, and the current plan has saved money as far as administration. It was kind of TBD on busing because there was no number with that, again, just like last time. Also, it's unclear if these new routes with the reconfiguration would end up being longer and therefore more expensive in the long run. Also kind of reducing any kind of savings we would have with getting rid of high school busing. But again, we don't know because there was not an estimate or anything in this new plan. This plan has big questions, especially on how we're going to prepare the buildings. Older students in South means first floor bathrooms are inadequate and inappropriate for our older students' developmental needs. Last time it was stated that that's not a legal requirement and it was not going to be addressed, which is not good for our students. It needs to be, and that would be an additional cost. That is also not in the plan. Excuse me. The whiteboards are on the floor, if you've ever been in those buildings, because it's meant for floor time. Our older students are not going to do that.
Your time is up, ma'am.
Oh, I still. And can I just finish? Okay, great. Also, it's kind of also mainly based on population numbers, which it's going to help the high school and junior high, hands down, that's obvious. But what happens in a few years if now the elementary is overpopulated? Are we just shifting the burden to them? So really just in conclusion, I really just hope specifically board members that we ask these questions, we continue to ask questions before we decide, before we approve anything. I know this is just the beginning stages, but I wanted to get that out there, so thank you.
Thank you.
So the board is not voting on reconfiguration tonight, and we are continuing to look at, matter of fact, since we had the other meeting, we're looking at even other options. So the presentation that will be after executive session even has some more information. So tonight we just had to give the overview of the analysis. And then in the next month, we'll be reaching out. I know Jane at one of the meetings had said, once we do our presentation, to put something out to all staff to kind of say what they think would be the best. So we will be moving to do that before there's any type of vote. So this is just, yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We definitely do not want teachers to leave.
All right, thank you. Okay, for those members of the audience who do not wish to stay for the business portion of the meeting, now is the appropriate time for you to exit the meeting.
You can fill out a card, Jane.
Do you have a card?
Here, just give it.
Okay. I'll set my timer for 3 minutes. Again, please stick to the time if possible. And then as you begin to speak, please list your name and your relationship to the district. And you can start. And what was your name? I'm sorry.
Jane.
Okay.
Within walking distance to New Burlington Elementary. I was a 4-year-old excited about going to New Burlington Elementary with my older sister. At the time, our parents had told us as well that. Thanks. At at the time, our parents had told us as well that we were sitting at the kitchen table eating red Jell-O, and that the district was busing us to Duval instead of New Burlington. Wide-eyed, I told my family, it's fine. I just hope I get to try both schools. By the time I was in 4th grade, the school leaders had found another way to desegregate without having to force students to be on the bus for more than 30 minutes each way. Let's hope that we can find solutions instead of feeling as if we're experimenting with our children. Having grown up in the district, I understand a need for change when it's in the best interests of all students. Our community needs more awareness, understanding, and input to justify a reconfiguration of our district. The community voted, after much input, about 15 years ago to combine 6 community elementaries into 2 community elementaries and a beautiful combined junior-senior high school building with 2 gorgeous gyms, art rooms with kelms, many science labs, and an auditorium. It doesn't seem fair to the community who is still paying for these buildings with standing tax levies that Cincinnati State and other entities should be able to use Mount Healthy as a hub when it's our community that has paid for these buildings with the purpose of using them for our students. There would need to be longer times on the school buses for students in 1st grade through 8th grade, and many times a long bus ride will exacerbate problematic behaviors. We also don't have information yet from Peterman, the bus company, on what any of those plans would mean financially for our district. On behalf of our students and the community, I request that we not make any reconfiguration decisions without community input from families and teachers. So it sounds like what you're saying now is that you will open this up to the community. From our committee meeting, we were under the impression that your team had already looked at this and decided that it would be one of those plans, and that once the decision was made by the board, that the board then would give us time to try to work on the plan, but we were under the impression that the plan was already to be decided by the board, and then we could just have some input once it was made. So I just hope the board can keep all of that in mind, and I appreciate the time and all of the work that's gone into trying to create plans.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Yeah, the state has charged us with, in October, we had to do a presentation. In the financial recovery plan that went in this summer, they said that we needed to analyze our enrollment and look at it in a variety of ways and come up with some plans to present to the board specifically in October. But it did not say it had to be approved in October. And at the different stakeholder groups that we had talked to, from that, we wanted to meet the deadline of making sure that we presented it, but there will not be a vote until at least November on the plans. And we do, I sent out something to the entire district, just with this is the information we have. We do have the Peterman numbers now. They came in on Friday, so that will be part of the presentation that we'll give after exec session. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, at this time, we are going to enter into an executive session to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee. Could I have a motion to enter executive session?
We got several reports coming after this session, is that?
We will return to a meeting with multiple items on the agenda after this session. Okay, could we do a roll call to enter executive session?
Ms. Bryant? Yes. Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner? Yes. Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Okay, we'll enter into an executive session at 6:20 p.m. moving on to item 4, the Great Oaks Board Report. I didn't remember to print out my report for everybody before I came. However, I can just tell you what we did. We actually, it was a very interesting Great Oaks meeting earlier this month because we got to go to Diamond Oaks, and the culinary program there at Diamond Oaks cooked a very, very large dinner for us this month. It was full of lots of food that I wasn't even sure exactly what it is, but they had they had like 3 or 4 courses for everyone on the board, which is, there's like 40 of us there. So, and what I thought was very interesting about it was that their culinary program, since our board meetings are in the evening, their culinary program for everyone to be involved had to come during their off time in the evening, and they had a 100% participation rate for their culinary students. I don't know exactly how many kids were there, but there were probably about 30 of them. And 100% of them volunteered their time to come and cook dinner for the Great Oaks board. So that was very, very neat. And then we had a little tour of the Diamond Oaks Center, and we, as part of our regular meeting, we also heard the superintendent and the treasurer's strategic plan for the year. So, Mr. Carter, you want to do the legislative report?
I will. Very brief. I also did not print out mine. I can make it available later. One significant development from the state for this was the state's 24-25 biennial budget, House Bill 33, which increased overall education funding but also expanded support for disadvantaged districts. The budget provides additional funds to districts based on student poverty levels and includes a $15 million Grow Your Own initiative aimed at helping high-need schools recruit and retain teachers. A key issue for schools in low-income areas is teacher retention. Moreover, transportation funding reforms are designed to alleviate busing challenges, which are also more acute in smaller, rural, or impoverished districts. And then Senate Bill 29, which goes into effect October 24th, introduces new privacy protections for students, limiting how districts and technology providers can monitor students' online activities on school-issued devices. Essentially, those legislative changes represent a shift towards addressing inequalities in the education system, although challenges remain, particularly regarding equitable funding distribution. So that's my legislative report.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the treasurer's update. Mr. Hancock, would you like to take it?
Did we lose Mike? Can we pull that up?
Sure. Presentation first.
Just part of my superintendent's report.
Oh,
In the past, they never pulled up the financial things.
yeah, it's good.
Sure.
Good to do that. Well, while that's coming up, it will be similar to last month. There were some interesting things on it, especially if you look at last month. We'll go through this cash summary, cash flow analysis. Again, that's what we're going to compare right now is where were we last year in September versus where are we now. And total revenue was 14.18 million. This year, last year was 13.26. So the main differences are the property tax is higher this year, $700,000. And you'll notice when you look at that particular report, when it comes up, you had changes in personal property tax on the line item this year. Last year, it was coded up in that top line item. So you've seen that $700,000 increase due to your reappraisal last year. The unrestricted grants and aid are running just about $300,000 better than last year, 5.9 versus 5.6 million. And then restricted grants and aid, that's where your DPIA funding is at. We've been talking about how DPIA funding is, and let's go through some of the other report, the cash flow analysis. This one has a handful of negative bounces on it that need to be addressed. They'll generally be down in the 014s and below. For instance, you see one here, and then there's probably 4 or 5 more when you get down to the 40s. So, yeah, the commission wants that taken care of. We started through that process in the last week where we put out requests to everybody to fill out budget purpose statements and the budgets. And that will help us learn and understand exactly what all these funds are. Because when we went through and did a 5-year history, we've got 15 of these. You see not a receipt or disbursement in the last 5 years. And there's others that have had a few years of no activity. So the purpose here is to identify dormant funds. We're talking to the building principal, general as we went through, and figuring out, okay, exactly what can be done. And we do, for instance, class of 25, that one's going to take care of itself. We've already got pretty much board practice in there, where the money from 24 slides down to 25, and obviously it should have happened at some point in 22. So the 131.20 and the 45.23.98 will slide down and take care of the 1,042.15 negative. And we're just going to be looking at all those various things to take care of the negative amounts, and then we'll get guidance on what are we allowed to do. My personal preference is the money that we find here would go to the 018 funds and building principals. And they're responsible for those buildings, and so these are not going to be huge dollars at the end of the day, and so I'm not looking for that to flow back into the fund, but we will see what we have to do here. That's where we're at. Any questions on fund balance? And again, when you get down to federal funds, they're always going to be negative at the end of the month because they start giving us money ahead of time. The federal government's not going to do that as a reimbursement basis. I'll just tell you about the operating bank account reconciliations. You can go through those and look at them. They all came out with the same variance and scores. So we're working with the auditors on what that will do. But we're showing you the bottom one there, which is the reports with the commission. And this will kind of look familiar. This report I just gave you, the cash flow analysis, I do that instead of this. Because they wanted me to share this and go through it. I said, this is a bunch of numbers for an entire audience, and they're just going to look at it and kind of get the thing to go. Boil it down to what we're actually doing. One sheet of paper there, just a couple columns, becomes much more manageable. So we will be following this format throughout the year. It will change to estimates here. Moving on. Back out of that one. There should be several tabs. That one is fine. Yeah, they wrote this in but again, this is getting into this cash balance summary that we just did. So I don't stick with this one. They're going to ask questions in here, why a negative balance. So they're just monitoring that as we go through, and that's why we started that budget process. This just talks about the negotiated agreements that are going to be out there. The student counts, and we're starting, or employee counts, and we're starting to get a pretty good handle on that. We are close on coming up with the system process. We're working on that last week. The debt schedules, that's that one. And this just shows you where you're going to have cash flow issues at on the fund balances and appropriations. So you don't want the red, obviously, going out in future years. There is one coming up that actually gets into the cash balances month to month. We already shared that. Separate document.
Can you scroll back up?
Sure.
to the right, 2024.
That's what was still left to reconcile this year.
Yeah, and that means the plan and the forecast right now says you would spend that much more.
Okay. And that's just for the fall, that doesn't include the spring?
Well, no, that's an annualized.
That's May. That's from May.
Number, that's an annual number. You forecast the fall,
Mm-hmm.
you do an update in that.
Okay.
Two requirements. And the other thing is if you have a material event, that it can really change your finances, and then you have that opportunity as well. That one's very rare. I don't know if I did that more than once ever. Generally, it doesn't happen.
So if I'm reading that correctly, then it is saying that our expected expenditures annually are gonna be, by the time we get to the end of the spring, 8 million in the red versus the projected 5 that we have for 2024?
The fall, yeah, the fall of, 22 showing will be 9.4, but there's 8 million.
I'm looking at the top of 2020 right there.
And that's just saying in FY '25. That was going back to that was clear back to down to go.
Those are both.
Okay.
When I was 9 years of history, it was just nothing but action, which is not shown in this format here. That really gives you a good idea of where's the spending start rolling in and causing issues. And all these variances were on those. You see very easily. We went through a couple of, what we want. Find three questions.
What's our overall budget for the district for the year projected to be?
You were in the mid-40s in general fund. Is kind of where you were sitting. So we're working through the forecast right now. And you got general fund budget, then you got all funds. And so I don't have those memorized. But we can certainly get you information on that and even get you a retrospective look at that if you like. And it kind of shows you back years. But there'd be some ways to do that.
Okay. Was that the end of your presentation? That's right.
Let's see. What else we got on the list? Yeah.
Ready for a vote? Okay. Can I please have a motion to approve the August 2024 monthly financial reports?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Dr. Turner.
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
All right, moving on to, what is this? My pages are cut off. The contracts. Let's see. While we're looking, could we have a motion to approve the contracts as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Turner, do we have a second? Do we have a second? We can discuss them after we.
The motion's on page 11 if you're lost. The actual information is on page 10.
We don't actually have page numbers.
No, we don't have page numbers.
Bottom right-hand corner. Oh, you guys got
11:41.
chopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got chopped off,
Yeah.
some of them.
So I
not all
just
of
need a second to approve the motion so that we can look at them and discuss them.
Second.
All right, Mr. Kilgore? Okay. Now I noticed that there are columns that are not filled out. I wonder, I mean, are
Which
these,
one? PO number?
Yeah, PO,
You wouldn't have those.
request number,
Yeah.
contract file name. I just want to make sure, because I
Yeah.
know that we had the
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah,
Approval,
we'll
I
be
just
o-
wanna
we'll be
make sure.
okay, 'cause PO wouldn't happen. Actually, if we had PO filled out right now, they might be upset.
Okay. I know, I remember us talking
Yeah.
during the agenda, but I just want to make sure this is still as it was approved.
Yeah, because if we had PO filled out, that would indicate we went ahead without their approval or yours.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, why is it on there to begin with?
I don't know. I'm always a little confused though, so. Has everyone had a chance to look over? Is there any discussion? Okay, take your time. You good? Did you have any questions about it, Ms. Bryant? Okay, can we do a roll call?
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
All right, purchase orders over $5,000. Could we have a motion to approve the purchase orders over $5,000 as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Turner and Mr. Kilgore, okay?
And I will say about these, most of these are, we're going back and we're looking where you had several POs ended up getting converted at 1/3 instead of the full amount. So, and they went in at 1/3. Food service was one of those that was the primary area in that, and that was something that was going on, probably back in August, I believe, or maybe even July, July. So, this is our attempt now to start going through here and getting all these things collected so we get them on the records and get people the appropriate purchase orders. And most of those, I believe, are for the full year on the food service.
What's line item 11?
Line item 11 is Huddle. Huddle is a video program that records athletic events throughout the state of Ohio, and it's pretty much the only game in town. All the districts use it, and so this money would be coming out of the athletic fund.
Okay.
And I've questioned them on that. That's certainly a significant portion of your budget. I'm sure you want that, and they've assured me, yep, we want it. So, and they say it is vital to their operation.
Okay. I know a few of us are still finishing looking. Did anyone have any questions while we're waiting? No? Okay, has everyone had a chance to finish looking over? Are you still looking, Ms. Bryant? Okay. Okay. Can we do a roll call?
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes. We're moving on to the then and now certificates. We have a motion to approve the then and now certificates as they appear on the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Carter,
Second.
Ms. Bryant, second. Any questions on those? Did everyone have a chance to finish reading? Okay, can we do a roll call?
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mr. Carter?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hancock. Moving on to Dr. Hawkins, report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you. So, one thing I did want to mention, Mr. Carter talked about Senate Bill 29, and this has significant implications for our teachers. So I just wanted to mention that in my remarks as we get started. This was a bill that was put forth that on school devices, they're saying that our staff have to respect a certain level of privacy for the students. And in theory, I think most people would say that was a good thing. However, it was pushed through quickly. And so the way that the bill is written has implications that I do not think were intended. So, for example, if in some of our classrooms, if students are working on their computers, there are programs that will allow the teacher to generate a thumbnail of every computer in the class. And the reason for that is just so teachers can quickly monitor, make sure everybody's on task. If teachers did that in our buildings, that would be considered a violation. If you're in violation, you have to send a letter or an email to every student, their families, per bell. So if I have 30 students in my classroom and I use the thumbnail to make sure that they're on task, then I would have to email the parents of all of those students saying, in 6th period, I monitored the students' devices. We might be able to be like, okay, can we send out a blanket statement that just says, throughout the year, we are going to monitor? No. It must be per bell. Now that I have some issues with, but then it's a step further. Let's say that our teachers have put in grades, and let's say that a teacher is like, you know, Valerie's average is a little lower than what I think it should be. Let me go back and see what work she's missing. That is considered a privacy violation. So every time a teacher checks progress book for missing work, they would have to send a notification to the family. Another example, and I think the teachers in the room that we have today would attest to this. A student comes up and says, Miss Wakefield, I know I had this assignment right here and now I can't find it. Can you help me figure out where it went in my computer? She would have to send a notification to the family that she accessed the child's school-issued computer looking for an assignment. Our teachers are extremely busy. The paperwork linked to this bill is just astronomical. We have been a one-to-one district for a while now. If we were textbook and paper grade books, then you wouldn't have that many issues. However, the way it is written, there are significant problems. We were on a meeting last week, and districts across the state are like, this is ridiculous. They agree. Unfortunately, it will not be able to be corrected in any real measure until after the election. So this does go into effect October 24th. And we will be talking with our teachers in the buildings. You know, this I think is an example of where something was put in for maybe a good intention, but it has very real implications that our teachers, they do not have time to do what is required in this. So we will be talking with our teachers union about how we want to approach this. But I just wanted to mention that in the board report. The second item is information related to reconfiguration. the commission, and I just want to read what we were actually charged to do. It said that after the 24-25 student population stabilizes, the commission directs the district to review facilities usage and all facility-related expenditures commonly known as overhead for potential cost savings through closing a building and or restructuring grade levels. This report, including recommended actions and timeline for implementation, should be completed and provided to the Board of Education in October 2024, so it may be considered for mid-year closure and incorporated into the mid-year reduction plan. This is our presentation of the information. I want to say before we start, I absolutely do not agree with doing anything mid-year. I do not believe that we have time to do it. I think that if we are going to do something, we must have the year to look at this. We are going to show you various options on how the buildings could be reconfigured. One of the options would be to just let everything stay as it is. But we want to provide the different scenarios to show how we looked at this comprehensively, and then discuss what, if you look at just the numbers, probably what the fairest option would be, but just to give you an overview. There's not a vote right now. In the next month, we'll be reaching out more to our stakeholders and then make the decision on coming to a vote on something. So as we look at the information, I wanted to start, we pulled numbers as of October 2nd. Our enrollment reports are monthly. So this was the September enrollment report. And this does show our current numbers at the ELC for preschool and kindergarten. I do want to note that preschool is capped at 15. That is not a Mount Healthy requirement. That is a state requirement. You must leave space for newly identified children. And so we've heard a lot about a 25-to-1 ratio. That's not possible at the ELC. I also want to note that if you just took those two numbers and divided by 25, it would not be accurate because the preschool has a different cap. So we have to just be aware of that as we look at numbers. Our kindergarten is averaging right now at 20.33. That is below the 25, but 25 kindergartners, that is a lot. However, that is our, those are the numbers. We have 282 in the Early Learning Center. Right now, this is an analysis of our 1st through 6th grade. The blue or the teal is under what is state recommended. The red shows above. So in 1st grade, we're a little bit under that 25 number. You can see in 6th grade, North is below 23.5. South is almost at 30 6th graders per class. The way our buildings are right now, it's very hard to balance the classes. At the ELC, all of the kindergarten classes are in the same building, so you can even it out easier than if they were in separate locations. So if we were to combine those grades, it shows how the numbers do even out a little bit. If you look specifically at 6th grade, it would change the class, lower it to 26.5 and make it more even across the board. But that is what our enrollment is as of October 2nd. At the junior high, this is actually probably our lowest ratio in the district if you look across all the classes. Primarily, that's because our 7th grade class is smaller than we anticipated, about 40 students less than what it was last year. So we have class averages hovering, right at 20. Math is a little bit lower. at the 8th grade level, closer to that 25 mark. But then if you just average it out for the whole building, you see it goes down. And that's one of the dangers of just doing the whole building, because if we didn't separate it out by 7th and 8th grade, that's misleading. If in math, the 7th grade has 17.8, but we said they had 20.35. So that does just give a comparison. Right now we have 421 students at the junior high. At the high school, this shows the different class sizes. Our largest class would be our 10th grade class, and the averages are hovering right around that 25 mark. Now, I do want to make a note about the high school. We did keep our honors classes. And again, on the surface, you'd be like, great, because we need to keep our honors classes. But remember, we have been charged with all teachers having a 25 class ratio. So what's the practical implication of that? That means that one teacher at the high school who teaches college credit plus, has 10, 11 students. A different class, they have 40 students. Their average is around 25. But I think that's an important thing that we need to consider, because we do want to maintain our honors classes if they are maintained the way that they should be. Right now, they're not running above 25. So that does skew at the high school level, because you might have one bell that's lower, but then another bell that's very, very large. So here's a comparison from last year when we received our report to this year. One concern was that our enrollment would drop significantly. It is a little less, but not significantly. It shows at the high school we're actually up 64 students. At the junior high, we're down 40. North Elementary down 26. South Elementary 1. And at the Early Learning Center 9. It also shows the building utilization compared to last year. The high school is now at 109, which is higher. The junior high is a little lower, 79%. North is at 53.5, a little bit lower than last year. And South is right at the same, 57.1 versus 57. The Early Learning Center is a little bit lower, right at 70%. It was 72 the year before. So this would be an option. One option would be to leave things exactly as they are. If we did that, that would be what our building utilization would look like. For our open enrollment data, we did receive 73 applications last year. Well, we received them. We accepted 41. Of that 41, 17 students were admitted or actually are attending. You might say, what's the big difference? Some of our families thought they may have to move, and they went ahead and applied, but they didn't move. So they were accepted, but they're still a Mount Healthy student. They live in our district, so they were not in that number. Of the 17 students that are with us in open enrollment, we have 7 at the high school, 3 at the junior high, and 7 in grades 1 through 6. So not a big push for open enrollment, but those are the numbers. We also included the chart that is there shows these are students that are Mount Healthy students that live in other, or not live, that attend other districts in open enrollment. So all of our local schools are listed there. For instance, Winton Woods has 64 of our Mount Healthy students attending. Cincinnati Public has 39, and you can just see the breakdown for a total of 199 students that would be in our schools. And I would say that the students represented in this chart would be students that would attend Mount Healthy. They're not attending a parochial for that type of education. They are still in public education, just in schools around us. So we did some different diagnostics. So this would be the diagnostic if we had a 6 through 8 building and a 1 through 5. So South would be a 6 through 8 building. The high school would be 9 through 12. North would be 1 through 5. And the ELC would remain unchanged with pre-K and K. If you look at the building utilization by that shift, it changes the high school from 109 down to 66.5. South would be at 60.3. North would be 91%. And the ELC was right at 70%. In the report that we were given, they said once a utilization reaches 90%, it makes it very difficult to schedule students and provide what is needed. So that's why we put that in red, because that would be above that 90%. The advantages, all of our grades would be in one building. We would have some savings from cutting busing. Band would be back in the 6th grade. The grade bands would align with Ohio Learning Standard, which would be nice. And we could consolidate resources. So if you have teachers that work at both elementaries, you could assign teachers specific to a building, so no one would have to travel. The disadvantages, North would be above that 90% mark, no 5th grade band. You still would have some traveling for special teachers. And then, of course, in all of the scenarios, a negative is the cost involved for reconfiguration. The next scenario shows creating a 5 through 8 building. And so the high school is going to be the same. That would change South to 78.5. It would then lower North from that 91% to 72.6. The ELC remains unchanged. The negative is the cost. Everything would be under 80%. All grades in one building. You could balance the classes easier. Again, savings from high school busing. Band would be in 5th and 6th grade, which is an advantage as students are learning an instrument. And again, consolidation of resources. We tried to think of many ways to look at buildings. So I do want to be specific. We're not saying we're doing any of these tonight, but we're just looking at them in different ways. The next scenario was, well, what if we have a 6 through 8 building, change the ELC to kindergarten and 1st grade, put the preschool back in the building. So you would have a preschool is half day, and then have 2nd grade through 5th grade at North. High school would be the same. This would change the utilization at South to 78.5. It would be a 6 through 8 building. North would have preschool and then grades 2 through 5. It would be 83%. The ELC would then bump up right to that 90% mark. This does create a challenge for specials, because if you have 1st grade, we would have to add specials to the ELC. You would have larger classes for kindergarten. There's not a gym or a lunchroom at the ELC. That was supposed to be in another phase, so they actually bring food over. So that is a challenge. Same cost for reconfiguration. The advantage is that you could consolidate 1st grade resources. All right, so we analyzed the different numbers, and there are 2 options. That the first is something that is emerging. We don't have all the data, but I wanted to provide that for you. We did reach out to an organization and to see what they would give us if they leased our early learning center. Now, we do not want to do that. We don't want to lease that to a private organization, but we're trying to consider every option that would bring in money for the district. So we are looking at a lease for the Early Learning Center for 5 years. That would mean that the preschool and kindergarten would be moved back to North and South. We have a meeting scheduled for the 24th of October with an organization to tour the building, and then they will give us the amount that they would be willing to lease the building for. How does this look? If we did that change, then our high school would remain the same. The junior high would remain where they are. North would then be pre-K through 6. South would be pre-K through 6. And it would change our utilizations to what's listed. We would use summer help to move the items. When we moved everybody from the buildings to the ELC, we did utilize people we had in district. We would move it back. This also would involve teachers changing classrooms in North and South, because as the preschool and kindergarten moved out, teachers changed rooms, so it would involve reconfiguring the building. The other option, just looking at how could our buildings be utilized most effectively, would be changing to the high school. Junior high school would be all 9 through 12. North would be 1 through 4. South would be 5 through 8. The ELC would be pre-K through K. As a reminder, this would be the utilization. You know, it does open a lot of space at the high school. South and North would be in the 70s, which still gives room for specialized programming. The ELC and pre-K is right around that 70%. What would be the benefits? We have investigated a partnership with Cincinnati State. That was mentioned tonight, and I just want to go into a little bit of detail. Why is that an advantage to our district? We do not have a lot of teachers that can teach college credit plus classes. You have to have a master's in the subject area in order to teach. So if a student leaves us and goes to UC or Cincinnati State, we have to pay for their classes. It is more beneficial to us to offer those classes with them remaining in the school, utilizing our teachers. If you don't have teachers who can teach, Cincinnati State had talked with us in the past about allowing their teachers to come to Mount Healthy to teach the class at Mount Healthy. The advantage of that would be that, let's say I have 2 college credit plus classes. They would remain on campus, and then they would be in our other classes. So that's a benefit for our teachers because they're physically in our classes. If a student decides to become full-time CCP, then a lot of them don't come to our building at all. And so our teachers would not have that opportunity to have them in their classes. Cincinnati State was interested in looking at this partnership with us. They have a lot of teachers that live in the North College Hill area, and we stopped exploring this because there was not space at the high school. They do want some designated area. If we could have 12 students, all Mount Healthy students, they would run the class with that. A potential downside of this, if, for instance, let's say we had 5, they would ask us to open it up to other College Credit Plus class students in the area. So if I'm at Winton Woods and I don't want to drive all the way down to Cincinnati State, they would say, you know, Mount Healthy has a College Credit Plus class, and you could go and take your class there. So that is something to consider. You know, might be looked at as a positive, might be looked at as a negative. But that is something, if we went into partnership, that would be part of that, because they need to have 12 students for their funding. And so we would have to honor that. At the high school, it does allow for alternative programming. We have a significant number of students that come to us severely credit deficient. We really need to develop a type of school within a school where students are working with a team of teachers to earn their credits. So other than like bell by bell, they may need to, they may take a test and say, okay, you need to do these units in order for you to test out of this class. And so we had explored that a few years ago in superintendent advisory, and they came up with a great proposal, but we did not have space at the high school. And so we looked at the cost of modular units, but the cost was too great. We also have some significant mental health issues. Some of our elementary, have some calming space. There's just not space for that at the high school. So there are some mental health concerns that could be addressed if we had more space. This also allows us for more career tech offerings. We do get extra money when students are enrolled in career tech. There's a push in Ohio for career tech in our schools. We already have medical equipment that was donated to us to start a nursing program. We have the beds and some other things, but we don't have room at the high school. So if we did have more room, we could offer some of these programs. There are many grants available right now that basically if you can show you have room and somebody to teach it, you would receive the grant for career tech programming. We have not reached out for those programs because we don't have space. We would get more equity for student services support, and then you can ignore the video part for now. Benefits of a 5 through 8 building. We did spend some time the last several months exploring the 5 through 8 concept and found that many schools around us have a 5 through 8 building and consider that to be a success. So some of the local schools around here, Finneytown, North College Hill, Ross, Loveland, Wyoming, and Talawanda, all have 5 through 8 buildings. Band would be offered in 5th and 6th grade. It could be done with our current staffing. It would help to balance the grade levels, more equity with student service support. We wouldn't have teachers going between North and South, and consolidation of resources. The 1 through 4 would be consolidation of resources. You'd be able to focus more on those the needs of those primary students. Teachers would not travel between buildings, and it would be easier to distribute our students. Financial implications. We did reach out to the company that we got a quote for last year, Plains Moving, and they said that they would honor the quote, but they did not want to talk to us until it was approved because of what happened last year. We did reach out to some other companies, and they also wanted to know if this was definitely approved. Once a decision is made, we would go through the process of getting quotes for that. In the quotes with Plains Moving, what they agreed to do is provide boxes and materials delivered to the buildings. Teachers would pack up their rooms. We would write where they're going. They would then move those boxes to the new location. There is a signage cost to change. Again, places have heard that we're asking for a lot of quotes, and they are not really interested if they do not think that we're serious about it. So we don't know exactly what that cost is. The summer grounds help. We hire summer grounds workers every year regardless. We have a lot of mowing to do in the summer. On days that they are not mowing, if it's raining, if they're caught up, they would be involved in helping move and do what needs to be done for any reconfiguration. We did add the cost in there, but that cost will happen whether we reconfigure or not. There is some administrative savings. We would be eliminating one head principal. The cost of that is around $170,000. We did look to see if we could use title money for that dean position. We would need to hire a dean for the 1 through 4 building. We can use title funds for that. So if we use title funds for that, the savings would be the salary and benefits of that principal, which would be $170,000. If we had to pay for a dean out of general fund, that would lower it to $70,000. but we could use title funds for that. Transportation. The transportation report was given on Friday, and they determined that the savings would be between 1.3 and 1.5 million if we eliminated high school busing. If the junior high is at the high school, we cannot eliminate busing because junior high is there. We have to transport through 8th grade. The total number of transported students, let me back up. It wouldn't just be eliminating high school busing, it would also be going to state minimums, which is if you live within 2 miles, then you walk or somebody brings you to school. So right now, our transported students would decrease from 2366 to 852. We have 967 high school students. We have 1366 students within the 2-mile walk zone. So that's why that number is shifted. We do have a contract with Peterman, and so I just want to note that it's not as easy as saying, well, here are these numbers, because they have a clause in there. If we fall below a certain level, we go into negotiations. But it's rather vague on that. And so this is what they ask us to use an outside organization to look at that. And so we did that with Ryan Pendleton. His organization did the analysis of the busing, and this is the information that they found. Concerns, attendance is a big concern. My larger concern is safety. We do not have sidewalks through all of our neighborhoods. If sometimes I don't like to drive from 275 down here. Normally I take Ronald Reagan because I don't like that drive. But yet we would be asking our students to walk from up near where that UDF is as you're going towards 275, not the one in town, but the Seven Hills area, all the way down to the high school. That's a long way without sidewalks, without consideration for how fast people drive or pass people. Yeah, right. That was at the high school. Right. So, you know, I'm going to tell you, there's times I'm driving and people just like pass me and cut in front of me. So, I mean, that is a concern to me. But if we are going to state minimums, this is the information. This is what the savings would be. The planning, we have not, I want to stress again, no decision has been made, but we were charged with giving the information. If in November a vote was taken, and I just put this in here for our planning purposes, the reconfiguration that makes the most sense district-wide, I believe, is making a 5 through 8 building. And if that happened, we would then have reconfiguration teams at the high school. We would have a 5 through 8 team and a 1 through 4 team. The teams would meet monthly to consider the schedules, arrangement, culture aspects related to reconfiguration. So for an example, at the high school, if busing is eliminated, schedules are determined by buses. People think that we decide when school starts. That is not true. We talk to Peterman, they run all the different scenarios, and they say, okay, this is what time your buildings need to start for us to do our routes. If the high school did not have busing, we could decide what time the school would start. So that does give a little bit of flexibility. The team would have that conversation in collaboration with the community to make that determination. There would be a formation of a community team to give input into the reconfiguration. Teams would meet monthly. We would be providing, we've reached out to the schools that have a 5 through 8 building, and we have asked if we could bring groups of parents and staff to tour the buildings and to talk with teachers, and we have been told yes, that we could do that. So we would be setting up visits from November to June to allow staff to take advantage of that, as well as families. Logistics, there would be a logistics team that would be focusing specifically on things like the schedule for the moving company, what needs to be done for moving furniture, mapping out the classroom. I would say all the principals will be on the logistic team in addition to their other teams, and they would be looking at assigning staffs for specific rooms if this is what was agreed on. The timeline, November, December, we would get quotes from the companies and signage, depending on when this was approved, if it is approved. January, we would need to reconvene the calendar committee once a vote was taken, because staff would have to pack up their rooms, and we would need to make some adjustments to the calendar. If you make adjustments to the calendar, it would need to be board approved again. So that is a consideration. In March, the logistics teams would be presenting maps for each building so staff would know exactly where they were assigned, and there would be a detailed list of all work that must be completed. Timeline again, May would be when the rooms would be packed up, labeled. May, June is when the boxes would be moved. May, June, the desk would have to be adjusted in some cases. Signage would be updated over the summer. July, the bus routes would be formatted. Tickets would be issued to families. And then we would be having a lot of things in August, so that the community could come in and see the new configurations, find their classrooms, just have some activities surrounding that. With the question marks, that really is just to say, it's not about questions, it's saying a decision has not been made. This is just an overview for the board to start thinking about. The main savings would be going to state minimums for the busing, which would be 1.3 to 1.5, and the elimination of a principal. And so the other savings that were detailed last year, we ended up doing those cuts anyway, and it has had a major impact on our district. Our teachers are internaling, if you don't know what that means. I just want to note, some of our teachers, a lot of our teachers, have received close to double the students. That means double the papers to grade, double the classroom management, and yet our internaling numbers have increased dramatically. So it was like 280 hours end of August going into September. It was over 300 hours this last month. People might be like, well, they get paid for that, but that is their planning time. So you have double the students, you have double the things you have to grade, and you have no planning, because most of them would say, I'll pass, because they need that planning time in order to do what they need to be successful in the classrooms. They're not getting that. Now I appreciate that the board approved to hire some subs, so we're hoping that will eliminate some of that pressure, but that is a lot on our staff. I mean, in reality, they need more planning time. They really probably need 2 bells, but we wouldn't be able to even service all of our students. So with all of these decisions, I just wanted to note the extra burden that is on our staff this year. If you have a class of 12 to 15, you can manage a lot of those classroom management issues. If you have 30, it makes it very difficult. We also need to note that we do have a significant number of students that come into our schools from foster care situations. Think about being taken from your home, and the next day it's like, you ready for math? They are trying to deal with that with much less administrator support in the buildings. So that's the overview of the presentation. Questions? open enrolled.
out of district, what does that equate to in terms of foundation payment? In terms of,
Great question. The money follows them, so depends a little bit on the specific, but what about 8,000, 8,000?
Yeah, and the per pupil amount follows them to that other district, so certainly you're running up, and I think I calculated here some 182 or so variance there, as far as that many more students going out. And it's on the state foundation fee, so I can get that for you, the payment we do every, twice a month. When we receive the money in, it shows.
when you say 80, roughly 8,000, is that monthly, is that annual?
Annual.
Annual, but we can get you some good numbers as to, it shows on the state foundation, and the state foundation is starting, I think, next month, or maybe later this month, is gonna start showing real data for this year.
I don't assume anything, that's why I asked.
That's good, good question.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Jana, do you have a rough count on that? They've changed a lot of the homeschooling laws, and so in the past, we could ask our families to do certain things. For instance, they had to give us some indication that they have covered a year's worth of material in, I'm not going to say the exact way, but there was like a curriculum. All of that has changed. Now they just have to say we're homeschooling. They don't have to use a curriculum. They can choose to do whatever they want. In the past, they had to have a teacher sign off that basically, yeah, I think this portfolio is a representation of a year's work. Now that does not happen. That provides extra stresses on our school, because we did have last year, I know of 3 students that they were homeschooled, kindergarten, first, second-ish grade. This is Valerie's statement, not anything related to family, but maybe they're not quite as cute anymore. So now they're back in our classrooms significantly behind. So then when they have extra needs, we have to pick up that cost. So I know with some of the students I referenced, we had to start providing special education services because they were significantly behind. Yet we have no authority at all in what they teach, how they teach. If somebody said, I'm not going to have a curriculum, I'm just going to let them wake up each day and learn whatever they felt like. By law, that is absolutely acceptable under the new guidelines. So we don't have any, I would estimate probably about 60-ish.
We have a,
Oh, wow, we've gone up this year. So 92. I thought it was around 60. So there's another close to 100. So that's 300. With our virtual school, we did, that's probably why it went up. We did have some of those homeschooling families that were in the virtual school. And we really were trying to encourage them, because ultimately a lot of times we are responsible for them. So, we said, if you're just going to do a computer program at home, use our computer program. And so I guess we had about 30 families that did that. When we eliminated the virtual school, then they went back to that. Other questions? Yeah, Erin? Sure. That's right. So let's just talk about that a second. So I have a kindergartner. If you go to state minimums, ultimately someone will make that call. This savings is based on state minimums, so they would have to run this scenario. But think about that. Kindergartner. Okay. See ya. Walk, especially down here. Okay, go walk to school. That's a challenge. 2 miles for a kindergartner. A lot of our families don't work what is traditional shifts. So it's very easy to say, I'll drop them off on the way to school. Well, they might be at work. I do think we also have to consider, if families are bringing them, do we offer the building at various times. Well, there is a cost involved with that, you know, to open it up before school. But those are not easy issues. But that, yeah, it would be, the 2 mile would be for all students. There, I think that's changed. We're looking into that. For high school busing, if it's not provided at all, but there wasn't a clear ruling on that yet. But, you know, we'll have to see with that. Yeah.
Yeah, Lakota's no, I think they might still be there.
What's that?
Lakota, no high school busing. They were there for years.
Well, they're talking about the elementary. If there's no sidewalks, can you force them to walk to school?
I don't think any of us like it.
Right. Other question? Yeah, Aaron? Yeah, definitely. Right. We would definitely, like, when we're changing our calendar, that would be something that would be brought to the board. And, you know, planning time has been a constant conversation this year. So we have been looking at that very seriously because right. Yeah.
And if I could add one thing, just to make sure, and probably all of you here know this already, but just to make sure. Our administrative team looks at all of this stuff, the board looks at this stuff, we all collaborate, we all talk about it, and try to have everybody in. In the end, it might not be our decision, because every single thing that we talk about doing, whether it's reconfiguring the buildings or changing busing or layoffs or whatever, it comes down to what the state says we have to do, what the commission says we have to do. And I can say I've been involved in several meetings where, you know, Dr. Hawkins will push back a little bit on a state recommendation and say, that's really gonna hurt our students. And the answer is always then find the money somewhere. It's not, oh, okay, you can't, if that's gonna hurt your students, never mind. It's then there has to be another way to find the money. So more layoffs or something else or something, it will never be, oh, okay, thanks, you tried your best. And it makes for some really incredibly difficult decisions. It really does. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking more of the meetings that are not the commission meetings, but the meetings that we have where we're talking to people with the Department of Education and those things, and it always comes back to, but this is how much money you have to eliminate. Find a way to do it, which, you know, right, and I understand that is the reality of it, you know, just like your home budget, you can't just say, no, we really want to still have cable TV or whatever, you know, but it's still, it makes for, at sometimes to me, it feels like impossible choices. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, we don't want kindergartners walking 2 miles. But,
Okay.
you know, there are limits to what we can do. November. It was
November.
November. It's seared into our brains, yeah, we know.
All right, so I'll
Okay.
go on with the other items on the report. So the next item is just informational. There is a change order for Conger, and this is still, the interior window sills needed some adjustment. It says no cost, but I do want to be clear that is still part of the contingency money. So obviously there is a cost, but no additional cost to the district. So they made those changes, 1,700, I believe.
You had like, I want to say 69,000 was still in contingency. That's not the cost.
Yeah. So just wanted to let you know about that. Item B is student teacher placement. And we do have a few, we want to recommend to approve the following individuals to be compensated to host a student teacher or participate in the practicum student during the 24-25 school year. There's no cost to the district. It's just something that, you know, we hope that they come in, they love Mount Healthy, and when they have the choice of where to go, they would choose us. So there are a few teachers listed there that would be part of this.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the following individuals be compensated for hosting a student, teacher, and/or practicum student during the 2024-25 school year? Dr. Turner, Mr. Kilgore, is there any discussion about this? Can we have a roll call?
It's all tied up everything.
Dr. Turner made the motion, and
And-
Mr. Kilgore did the second. And we are ready for a roll call.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Item C is an acceptance of donations. And we received a donation from Mount Healthy Ridgewood Senior Living Apartments. The ladies group has donated handmade hats for our students. There was also a donation from the Mount Healthy Education Foundation for $1,000 for senior banners and $400 to the National Honor Society.
Okay, could I have a motion to accept those listed donations?
Second.
All right, Mr. Carter, Mr. Kilgore, any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mr. Carter? Yes. Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Item D is the Carol Ellis Scholarship. We are coming up on a year since Carol's death. And so last year we did receive a donation, more than one donation for the Carol Ellis Scholarship. It was awarded to a student, and now we are just asking that you approve it being paid to that student. And the amount is $3,150.
Okay, we have a motion to award the Carol Ellis Scholarship to the student listed for $3,150. Ms. Bryant?
Second.
Dr. Turner? Any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mr. Carter?
Abstain.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. And I did want to note, Lori Daniels was really instrumental in getting us a donor for that scholarship. She did get enough money for 4 years of a minimum of $2,500 in Carol's name. So we can at least do that for 3 more school years without any further donations. So we are appreciative of that. Item E, unpaid medical leave. And we are asking you to recommend the approval of unpaid medical leave for the following people.
Okay, we have a motion to approve unpaid medical leave for the folks listed. Where are they?
They're,
Oh, I see it.
they're listed,
I
yeah.
see it here. Okay. For the people listed right above. What page is this?
I don't, it's under E.
Under unpaid medical leave.
Yeah.
Can we have a motion?
20, that one's cut off, but it's 21 on the next page.
Okay. Can we have just a motion to approve unpaid medical leave for the people listed here?
So moved.
Dr. Turner, who did the second? Mr. Kilgore? Any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Ms. Carter?
Thank you. Item F is to approve the following resignations.
Okay, while we're looking over this, could we have a motion to approve the following resignations? Okay, any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Carter? Yes. Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item G is to reject the resignation listed below. This is a certified staff member.
We have a motion to approve the rejection of the resignation of the listed staff member.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Turner and Mr. Kilgore. Was there any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. So item H is to approve the 21st Century Grant After School Program. Kristen Yancey has been very involved in this, and we're very appreciative of this because this grant enables us to provide just a lot of variety of opportunities for our students, and we do have the people listed below that would be paid for out of funds from this grant. So there's not a cost to the general fund.
We have a motion to approve the listed items for the after-school programs for students paid with funds from the 21st Century Grant.
So moved.
That was Dr. Turner and Ms. Bryant.
Now make note of how those blocks are all filled out. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I was looking through a second ago there. It's a very pretty little spreadsheet.
Yes, yes. Lavonda and I enjoyed Friday night together. We could have listened to a football game. We were here.
Could have just come over to the stadium.
Yeah, we could have. It might have been third quarter, but we'd have been there.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, turned out the right way. I have a motion and a second. Would you like a roll call?
Was there any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter? Yes.
Thank-
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Item I is the approval of supplemental positions, and they are listed following. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We have a motion to approve the supplemental positions.
So moved.
Dr. Turner? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kilgore? All right, any questions on those? Can we do a roll call?
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Carter? Yes. Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
I do want to note on the supplemental positions, the work of the district, ladies sitting right there, they did evaluate, I'm talking about Lavonda, Shayna, Jana, Sarah. They did evaluate supplementals that could be eliminated. They also moved a lot of supplementals to any grants that we could. And as of last week, that was a savings of $109,000 to the general fund. So that's a lot of work, is a lot of work to go through things in that meticulous way. So we do appreciate the work of all of them, and it is a savings to the district. Item J is to approve the listed classified personnel.
Okay, could we have a recommendation, or I'm sorry, a motion to approve the employment of the following classified personnel? So moved. Dr. Turner,
Second.
Mr. Carter. Okay, was there any discussion on these? Could we do a roll call?
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner? Yes. Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Thank you. Item K is limited contract step adjustment, and that person is listed below.
Could we have a motion to approve the step adjustment effective 8/1/24? So moved. Dr. Turner, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Carter? Is there any discussion? Can we do a roll call?
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Dr. Turner? Yes. Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Thank you. Item L is an MOU for the Mount Healthy Classified Employees Association. There are two MOUs. The first one deals with a donation that was received. In years past, we had $1,000 that was given to our Teacher of the Year and our Classified Person of the Year, and that did come out of the general fund. This year, we found a donor that was willing to give us that money so that that could continue for the recipients. And so the MOU, actually there's one also for the teachers coming up, is just saying that the board does agree to let them have that money that was donated for that purpose. The second MOU for the classified involves first wearing jeans. We considered that earlier for the certified, so that would be the same. The classified contract actually ended this last year. The teacher's contract was a 3-year, theirs was a 2. And so the second MOU does say that they would get the step increase, the same as our certified staff for this school year. And you know, there are some things about rollover and things because we didn't enter into negotiations since we didn't have money to do so. But that would just make it equitable between the Teachers Association and the classified.
Okay, so this first one will be for the staff of the year. So could we do a motion to approve?
Well, the first is for classified, which would be the staff, the classified $1,000 wearing jeans and to roll over their steps. So under like these file attachments, one of them had jeans and the contract getting the steps, and the other one was that the $1,000 donation would be given to the classified person of the year.
Okay. So the first one we're voting on is the classified.
Yes.
Okay. I thought we were doing both. What's that? I know, but it lists both of them right here, so I got confused there. Okay, can we have a motion to approve the MOU to allow the members of the bargaining unit to wear jeans on a daily basis?
Second.
It's for both of them. So under this, you would be voting on the $1,000 donation. That's for the teacher. There was one for teachers and one for classified. Okay.
Okay.
So you would be voting on rolling over their steps letting them wear jeans, and the $1,000 donation to be paid for the classified person of the year.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read all this. Can we have a motion to approve the MOU to authorize the treasurer to pay $1,000 to the person designated by the Board of Education as support staff of the year, as well as the MOU to allow members of the bargaining unit to wear jeans on a daily basis?
And first step increase
And first step increase, sorry.
to roll over.
And just so the board realizes, when you have a contract that expires and you don't have a negotiated agreement in place, the terms of that contract still apply. The step's already been enacted, it was done in September, so it ends up being a formality. Although it has created an interesting discussion on 412 certificates, that probably hasn't finished its course at this point, but, so it's not like you're voting to spend money at this point, you already had done that with the previous contract.
And it was built into the forecast. This
It
is
in the
not.
forecast, yeah, it's in the forecast, that's not an issue.
We have a motion.
Second.
Dr. Turner? Yes. Mr. Kilgore? Yes. Ms. Bryant? Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Item M is for an MOU with the Teachers Association. This would be that the $1,000 donation would be given to the person selected as Teacher of the Year.
Okay, can we have a motion to authorize the treasurer to pay $1,000 to the person designated by the board as the teacher of the year?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore? Yes. Ms. Bryant? Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
We do want to thank Brian Neal and Accelerate Schools for those donations, as well as providing our donuts and coffee for opening day. So we were very appreciative of him. He is a former Mount Healthy alum. So thank you to Brian. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins. Okay, moving on to special orders. Looks like there are none. Was there anything that the board would like to openly discuss in this meeting?
I have a question for Dr. Hawkins. Do we know when the elevator is going to be operational and ready for use? Speaking as someone having knee surgery next month.
It'll be in December, early December. No, it may be tested before that, but they were running December.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're welcome. We will all be very happy when that is completed.
Any other discussion? Okay. Moving on, the date of the next board meeting will be November 12th, 2024. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That didn't take long.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
There you go.
All right, meeting is adjourned.